In this video, I'll demonstrate how I use Adobe Bridge and Photoshop to create a digital collage. So first, I'm just going to have a look at Adobe Bridge and how I set my folders up. And we can see here that at the top level of my computer, these are my various different hard drives. And this is mirrored on the left-hand side here. So for example, if I click a button to the left, you can see all my subfolders, and all of these contain images. And again, if I double click the folder there, you can see the folders there. I like Adobe Bridge because it's a very visual way of working, and it allows me to drill into lots of important information should I need. Okay, so I've set up, as well as the folders there, a favourites folder, and here a folder titled Digital Collage. And within this is pretty much everything I'm working on at the moment, and this includes, so for example, reference images, which is a folder containing many images that I've either photographed or taken from the internet. Also, there's another folder, reference prints, which contains photographs of old, very old actually, some antique prints, mainly of birds. Big fan of birds. And there's other stuff here. So for example, I might have some IKEA instructions in PDF form. I like IKEA instructions. And this here, converted assets. These are images that I've extracted the background from. So I've either cut them out as a color image, or for example, something like this. It's a PSD file which sits on a transparent background. And here's one that you might find familiar. Okay, so what I would like to look at now is this folder, Measuring for Curtains, and this is a digital collage that I'm currently working on. And within this are all the elements that make up the image, from a torn curtain, a digital glitch, an IKEA instruction, some lichen, commemoration, photograph of some texture paper, downloaded image of the planet Earth, a digital glitch, an image of a lake in Sweden, a balloon, wall curtains, and an antique globe. How I might work. So what I tend to do is, if I create a folder for a particular collage, I will pull all the elements into this folder as I'm building the collage. And now I'm going to go into Photoshop and show you how I start to build a digital collage. We need to create a new document in Photoshop, so Command N or File New, bring up the document sizes. My go-to size for this is A3. That gives me enough space to work around, and I can reduce the size should I want it to be smaller. Make sure that, well, I think in this case, let's keep it white. Okay, so these are the dimensions, 300 ppi. Excellent, let's go for that. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, this will remain as the background, and I want to create a new layer, and the new layer will be transparent, none. and I can uncheck the white background. It's good to have a white background because this gives you a good opportunity to see what the colours will look like as you start to build it, and to see if there's any fuzziness around any of the cutouts that you made. Okay, so this is ready to go. So it's a good idea with your layers here to be labeling them as you go. Now let's go to Bridge, and these are the assets I want to work with today. So I'm going to click on the first one and the last one I want to use and press Shift. These are now selected, and if I double click, they will all open within Photoshop. So obviously I've worked on some of these, I've cut them out as per some of the other videos I've demonstrated on. And when I talk about assets, this is kind of it. It's the kind of bits that are pre-cut out, or the background layers that are going to help build the collage. Okay, so here they are lined up at the top, and we can click any of these at any time to bring them up. So you'll notice with the curtain here, it's torn, and this is a layer mask, which is a torn paper layer mask. Okay, so this is I'm going to link these together now if I can. Maybe I can't, they are already connected, but basically when I drag these in, this mask means that I can get that torn paper edge on a curtain. I'm happy to advise further about a mask, but they're a little bit more complex to work out, and there's some great resources so you can do a bit of independent research should you wish. Okay, let's now bring in our first item. So the first thing I want to bring in is really the antique globe. So press the V button to bring up the move tool, or simply go up and select it. Now when you're moving, you're clicking and dragging on the layer that you want to move, and then you will drag this to the title bar here, where you drag it over to the image you want to work on, our background, and then drag your cursor to the document and release, and there it is. Okay, so I want to now give this a title. I want to expand this slightly, just a bit. So Command T brings up the transform tool, and if you simply click and drag on one of the corners, it will scale it accordingly. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. The next thing I want to do is I want to overlay the Earth image on this. Now this is a huge image, so if I click and drag and then drop, it covers the whole of the page. So this is massive, and this was downloaded from the NASA website, by the way, which is a useful resource. So Command T, and I can click and drag to scale. So this is going to take a little bit of guesswork and moving around. I'm fairly happy, so press return, and now if I hit the magnifying button, I can zoom into it, or simply Z will do exactly the same thing, and V for the move tool. And you can see at the bottom here, just need to change the scale of that a little bit, I think. So I'm gonna Command and T and Shift and drag out the bottom just to move that out a little bit. There we go. almost perfect. Quite happy with that. Now I want to rotate the globe a little bit, I think. So if I Command T again and just spin it round its axis, that's more like it. There we go. And don't forget, as I have done, to give that layer a name. Also, it's a good idea to now save this image. So I'm going to call it Testing Earth for some reason, and I'm saving it in the folder that I'm working on, so that's fine. And it's a Photoshop document, so anything with layers needs to be saved as a Photoshop document. And it's worth knowing that and this is going to give us quite a large file because we're building up lots of different assets within this. So Command 0 will take us back to fit in view, and I now want to bring in my curtain. So there's the curtain, and if I click and drag, you can see the mask layer behind. Okay, so I'm going to Command Z that to return, and I need to click on both of these and link them. So the link button at the bottom means that now when I move this, everything's going to move nicely and together. Okay, and drop that in. Let's give that a title, so curtain. Okay, now Command T will enable me to scale that to the edge and just take that over there a little more. Okay. And because we're working in layers here, when you drag an image onto the collage that we're building up, it's automatically going to drop it on top of the layer you've been working on. So in this case it's the top. So what I'm going to do now is to make sure that I select both of these and drag these below the globe so it sits behind. The next thing I want to bring in is going to be behind all of this, so I'm going to click on the transparent layer and just click on, I think, the paper texture and drag this up across and drop. And I'm just gonna kind of drag that across. Again, this is quite a big image, so it fits in quite nicely there. Quite happy with that. Now I intend to bring in the lichen. So again, this is quite a big image, so just click and drag, and it's going to sit on the layer above the blue paper, which I didn't title. So you can see there's quite a lot to think about when you're doing this, but the important thing is, I think, is to have a bit of a system. If you've got a list of the items that you want to bring in, that might be useful. So I'm going to just, with the move tool selected, just drag the lichen over a little bit. Okay, so now my next item to bring in is the balloon. So again, click and drag and drop. And because the lichen was selected, the blue is going to pop in just below that. And I want to just turn this around a little bit. So Command T enables me to just bring that in. I might twist it all the way around actually. I think maybe it needs to come in over here. So I'm always changing my mind when I'm creating a digital collage, and I think as long as it remains a Photoshop document, then it can be adapted to over time. You might find different assets that you wish to add to it. It makes it kind of really fluid, and I find that very interesting. In the sense it's not fixed unless you want it to be fixed. So I think just a couple more things to bring in. So now I'm going to bring in the eel, and I just want to show you that I've put a duplicate layer on here which is white. These are linked, so I'm just going to give these a quick title or a quick name for each layer in here, and because they're linked I can click and drag and drop into here, and let's drop it on the top. Okay, so I'm just gonna make this a bit bigger for now, and we can see there's a mismatch. Can you see the white line there? So I'm going to just unlink these a minute and select just the top layer, the blue layer I think, and if I use the move tool I can match these up. Command and click, so both of them are highlighted. Click the link tool, and now hopefully I can move them around quite nicely. And we can see with the white background layer, it just enables us to see a bit more of the eel there, which maybe was not particularly evident, would not have been evident without that. So that's going to pop in, I think, somewhere there, and I'm going to drag these now below the curtain and just drag these around here. So that feels quite nice. Again, there's a white edge there that I'm not particularly happy with, so unlink these, select the top layer, and with the move tool selected, just going to match that up. Okay, I can now link these as so. So finally, I want to bring in our frog, which has been quite nicely cut out, and click and drag this. Now, because we were working on the eel layer, the frog is tucked away behind the curtain. So let's bring him to the front. There. Okay. I quite like to flip this. So if I go to edit and transform, this enables me to flip horizontal, and if I now bring up the transform tool again, T, I I can rotate should I wish, and move around also should I wish. So I quite like the way that that's balanced there. It just needs to be a bit smaller. So just click a corner and drag that in. Okay, something like that. So there, I hope that gives an idea of how I now approach building up these layers. And I suppose it's just worth reiterating that any of these elements are changeable. You know, if I, for example, didn't like the color of the lichen, if I bring up the Adobe Camera Raw filter, just say it's a little bit too orange for my liking, or there's something that I'm not particularly happy with, I'm going to increase the texture to see if I can have more definition. That's useful. And I might just want to take down the vibrance just a little bit on that. Maybe warm it up a little bit too. Let it do its stuff. And there we go. Slight changes made. Now all I need to do is Command S to save this, because we've already saved it here. If I go to Bridge, we can have a look at where it exists. I think this is it here. What's really useful to know that as a PSD, it's a very large file size. So I have Bridge set up so that I can see the file size of everything. This is really useful. This can be done in the preferences. If you go to Adobe Bridge, and here we can see there's lots of options, but in particular thumbnails, and this enables you to basically select from any of these and add some information. So I like to use the date created, which offers the time as well, the dimensions, pixel dimensions and PPI, and also the size, so the physical size of the document. And this means that I can easily and quickly reference some key information, and we can see here again that's a huge file size, and that's just over 1/3 of a gigabyte. For me, it's really important to keep the images as PSDs, because I keep returning to them as my mind changes, as new assets appear or inspire me. As I said previously, it keeps it completely fluid and flexible, and that's a way I like to work. Okay, so I hope that was useful. Thank you very much, and good luck with your digital collage.